There are moments in life when the world feels heavy, when provision seems distant, when the heart trembles between hope and uncertainty. And yet, within these very moments, Allah often plants the first seeds of transformation. The great mystic Ibn Arabi, may Allah sanctify his secret, taught that divine openings often arrive silently, wrapped not in gold but in subtle signs. He reminded us that the real hides his gifts in veils, so that only the one whose heart is awake will recognize them. Today, I want to share with you 4 signs, deep, spiritual, and practical, that Allah may be preparing you for a financial breakthrough, based on the wisdom attributed to masters like Ibn Arabi and the broader Sufi tradition of inner unveiling. These signs are not merely mystical, they are observable, lived, and relatable. And when we recognize them, we move from struggle to strategy, from delay to destiny, from scarcity to sacred abundance. In the unfolding journey of every soul, there are moments when life seems to close in from all sides, when provision thins, when familiar doors no longer open, when pathways that once felt clear suddenly narrow into uncertainty. In these moments, the heart naturally trembles. We may wonder if we have been forgotten, or if the divine gaze has turned away from us. Yet those who look with the eye of the Spirit, not merely the eye of circumstance, discover a deeper truth, that constriction is often the first whisper of an impending expansion. Just as a seed must split before it sends its first root into the earth, your life may tighten before it blooms. The soil presses in on that seed not to crush it, but to awaken it. In the same way, when your finances shrink, when opportunities pause, when comfort slips from your grasp, it is rarely a sign of punishment. More often, it is a refinement, an unseen preparation shaping you for a chapter you cannot yet comprehend. Reflect on the story of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. Before he rose to oversee the wealth of a vast nation, before he became a symbol of resilience and wisdom, he passed through a series of trials that seemed outwardly like misfortune. A well, a caravan, a distant land, a prison cell. Each stage was a constriction tighter than the one before. Yet through each contraction, something within him expanded. Insight deepened, patience matured, and his gifts sharpened. What the world saw as setbacks were, in truth, the stepping stones of destiny. This is the pattern woven into the fabric of many lives. Sometimes, Allah removes the lesser so that you may finally recognize the greater. Sometimes, He narrows your path not to punish you, but to guide your feet toward the place where your true provision waits. When the world becomes smaller around you, it may be because your spirit is being readied to step into something vast. If you feel this tightening now, if your savings are thinner, if opportunities seem delayed, if the life you knew feels like it is pulling away, do not despair. The door of relief is often carved inside the very wall of difficulty. What feels like an ending may be the beginning of a realignment. What feels like loss may be the soft clearing of space for something more meaningful, more sustainable, more aligned with who you are meant to become. Take a moment to ask yourself, is Allah clearing distractions so that I can finally focus on the next stage of my financial and spiritual growth? Is He pulling me away from temporary comforts so that I may be anchored instead in purpose? Is this pressure a sign that something dormant within me is being awakened? Discipline, creativity, resilience, clarity. When a person is poised for a breakthrough, the soul often senses it before the mind does. You may notice yourself growing more introspective, becoming less satisfied with superficial pursuits, feeling a subtle urgency to change old habits or evaluate your priorities. These are not coincidences. They are signals that your internal world is shifting to make room for what is coming. So if the walls feel close, breathe deeply. Trust the one who shapes your path with wisdom. For the same force that constricts the seed is the one that lifts the flower toward the sun, and the same divine hand that allows life to tighten is the hand preparing to unfold something greater than what you have lost, something written for you with mercy long before you were born. There are times in a person's life when the inner world begins to tremble before the outer world shows even the slightest sign of change. It begins quietly, like a soft knock at the door of your heart, yet it grows with each passing day, refusing to be dismissed. This restlessness does not come from worldly pressure or external expectation. It arises from a deeper place, a place where the soul hears what the body cannot yet see. It is the gentle whisper of destiny, urging you to rise. When Allah intends to open a new path for His servant, He often plants within them an unease that cannot be soothed by familiar routines or comfortable excuses. You begin to feel a subtle but persistent desire to grow, as if your current circumstances, once acceptable, even pleasant, now feel too small for the person you are becoming. The work you used to tolerate now exhausts you. The habits you once shrugged off now feel like chains. The dreams you buried years ago suddenly return with new urgency, knocking on your imagination as if to say, I am still possible. This restlessness is not a flaw to be corrected. It is an invitation to be answered. It signals that your soul has glimpsed a horizon you have not yet reached, and it pulls you toward it. There is a profound mercy in this unease, for without it, many would remain stuck in places that no longer nourish them. Restlessness is the divine nudge that says, rise. There is more for you than what you are clinging to. Across history and across cultures, people who achieve meaningful success often describe a similar moment of awakening. They speak of a day, a conversation, or even a quiet evening alone when they realized they could no longer continue living as they had been. Entrepreneurs who built thriving companies, philanthropists who reshaped communities, creatives who transformed their fields, many of them trace their transformation back to an internal shift rather than an external opportunity. Something within them refused to accept stagnation. Something whispered that their current life, no matter how comfortable, was not the full measure of who they were meant to be. Modern psychologists call this moment an inflection point, a psychological pivot where a person's identity begins to realign with their deeper values. Spiritual teachers, on the other hand, have long recognized it as a wake up of the heart. It is the moment when the inner being finally speaks louder than fear, and when the longing for purpose outweighs the comfort of the familiar. If you feel this inner stirring, pay attention. Do not rush to silence it with distractions or drown it in routine. Sit with it. Listen to it. Ask yourself what it is pointing toward. For many people, this restlessness is the first sign that a financial breakthrough is approaching, not simply in terms of larger income, but in terms of stepping into a livelihood that reflects their potential, their integrity, and their God-given gifts. Your breakthrough may begin with nothing more than a single sentence of courage, whispered to yourself in the quiet moments of your day. I refuse to stay where I am, because Allah did not create me for smallness. When you speak these words with sincerity, the world around you may not immediately change, but something within you will. And once the inner world shifts, it is only a matter of time before the outer world follows. There are moments in life when the world around you begins to shift in ways so subtle you might overlook them if your heart is not awake. A new person enters your circle, a thought arrives with unexpected clarity, an opportunity crosses your path that seems almost too perfectly timed. These moments may appear small, but they carry the quiet footprint of the unseen. They are signals that the landscape of your life is being prepared for something greater. When a person is ready, truly ready in spirit, intention, and sincerity, the right guides begin to emerge. Sometimes they appear in the form of a wise mentor whose words illuminate a path you could not see before. Sometimes they come as a friend whose encouragement rekindles your courage. Sometimes they are not people at all but moments. Moments that soften your heart or stretch your mind. Moments that awaken dormant talents or sharpen old ones. Moments that whisper, "This is the way forward." Notice how often this happens when you are on the brink of change. A book falls into your hands at precisely the time you need it, and you find within its pages an answer to a question you didn't know how to ask. A new skill begins calling to you, not loudly, but persistently enough that you feel compelled to explore it. A business idea returns to your thoughts again and again, as though it has chosen you, insisting that its time has come. Even data, numbers, stories, trends appears in your awareness in a way that alters your understanding of what is possible. None of this is random. The steps toward abundance are often paved with seemingly small connections that later reveal themselves as essential links in a much larger chain. What looks like coincidence is often the gentle choreography of destiny, arranged by a Lord who knows exactly which doors will move you, which words will stir you, which people will shape you, and which opportunities will lift you. Many profound breakthroughs in history began with something as simple as a conversation overheard, a stranger met by chance, a letter read at the right moment, or a single suggestion from someone who believed in a dream before it was even spoken aloud. These small sparks often ignite transformations greater than the individuals involved could have predicted. If you find yourself noticing a pattern, one aligned encounter after another, one meaningful idea followed by a confirming conversation, one opportunity that echoes something you were already feeling internally, do not dismiss it. Alignment is a form of divine communication. It is a reminder that your path is not unfolding at random, but according to a wisdom that precedes your own planning. Remember that financial breakthroughs do not arrive solely through increased income or expanded resources. They often begin with expanded vision. A shift in mindset can open doors that effort alone cannot. A single insight can be worth more than years of labor misdirected. When Allah prepares you for abundance, He often first grants you clarity, clarity about who you are, what you are capable of, and which direction your provision truly lies in. So pay attention to the people who appear, the ideas that stir within you, the opportunities that surface unexpectedly. These are invitations, not accidents. They are signs that the author of your destiny is aligning your steps with your future, guiding you toward the place where effort, wisdom, and divine timing meet. And when these elements converge, transformation is no longer a distant hope, it becomes the very ground beneath your feet. There are seasons of life when change does not arrive with thunder or fanfare, but instead with the faintest whisper of new habits forming in the quiet corners of your day. These habits may seem insignificant at first, too small to matter, too subtle to point toward anything monumental. Yet it is often in these gentle beginnings that the signs of a coming transformation first appear. When Allah intends to elevate you, He does not always start by changing your external circumstances. He begins by adjusting the rhythm of your inner life. You may notice yourself becoming more careful with the way you handle your money, not out of fear, but out of a deepening sense of responsibility. You budget with more intention, not simply calculating expenses, but recognizing that your resources are a trust given to you. You begin to take debt seriously, no longer pushing it into the shadows, but addressing it with maturity and patience. You might find yourself rising earlier, as though an unseen hand is gently nudging you toward clarity, productivity, and purpose. Hours that were once wasted begin to feel too precious to lose. You choose learning over distraction, growth over stagnation, discipline over indulgence. These are small actions, yet each one carries the fragrance of spiritual awakening. They are not merely behavioral shifts, they are signs of an inner realignment. Something in you is waking up. Something in you is remembering who you are meant to be. People often imagine financial breakthroughs as sudden events, an unexpected raise, a new job, a successful business, a windfall. But before any of these material changes occur, there is always a subtle transformation taking place beneath the surface. It begins quietly, like the first sprout breaking through the soil long before the garden appears. The truth is that sustainable abundance does not begin with wealth itself. It begins with the person who is being shaped to receive it. When you stop tolerating your own excuses, when you finally say, I can no longer live beneath the standard my soul knows I am capable of, you have already stepped into the first chamber of abundance. When you choose discipline over impulse, even once, you weaken the chains that have held you back. When you choose to learn a new skill, to save a little more, to invest with knowledge, or to work with sincerity and excellence, you are not simply improving your circumstances, you are preparing your spirit for expansion. Every great journey begins with footsteps that seem too small to matter. But consistent steps gather power. They build momentum. They reshape your identity. What you practice becomes who you are, and who you are becomes the vessel that holds your destiny. If you find yourself experiencing even the smallest habit of discipline, celebrate it. These changes are not coincidences, they are blessings in the making. They are signs that your inner world is being polished so it can receive what is already written for you. They are evidence that Allah is turning your heart toward wisdom, toward stewardship, toward the kind of stability that is rooted in intention rather than fleeting opportunity. Each disciplined moment is a seed, and every seed contains the potential for a garden. You may not see the full bloom yet, but the transformation has begun. And when a person's inner world is refined, it is only a matter of time before their external world follows. These quiet acts are not just habits, they are footsteps, steady, deliberate, sacred, leading you toward the door of abundance that has long been waiting for you to arrive. My dear brothers and sisters, many of us imagine a financial breakthrough as something that happens suddenly, as if wealth descends from the sky or fortune appears at the edge of our sight. Yet the reality is far more profound. True abundance is never merely the increase of money, it is the shaping of a soul capable of receiving it with wisdom, humility, and purpose. It is the preparation of a heart that can carry blessing without being crushed by it, that can nurture opportunity rather than squander it, that can transform provision into service and not just comfort. A breakthrough begins not in the world outside, but within you, in the quiet chambers of your spirit where intention, patience, and insight dwell. Every provision has a path, and every path begins with the heart. Before the first coin arrives, before the first opportunity manifests, the heart must awaken. It awakens through tightening, through restlessness, through the alignment of people, ideas, and opportunities, and through the cultivation of discipline in the smallest of daily acts. Each of these signs is a whisper of guidance, a signal that your inner life is being tuned to receive what has long been written for you. What appears outwardly as struggle, as impatience, or as effort is often the unseen shaping of your soul, the silent preparation for a harvest that will arrive in its perfect time. When you feel the tightening of your circumstances, do not despair. When restlessness stirs your heart, do not ignore it. When new doors, new people, and new ideas enter your life, pay attention. When small habits of discipline begin to take root, honor them. Each of these movements within you is a thread in a greater tapestry, guiding you toward the provision you are ready to receive. Recognize these signs as invitations from Allah to step fully into your potential, to move beyond what has been comfortable or familiar, and to embrace the life that has been destined for you since before you were born. Understand that abundance is a mirror reflecting the inner work you have done. If your heart has learned patience, your mind has learned clarity, and your hands have learned diligence, the external world will reflect these qualities. Money, opportunity, and success are not ends in themselves. They are the outward manifestation of a soul aligned with its purpose. The person who waits for wealth without cultivating the inner world will find it fleeting. The person who prepares their heart will find provision that sustains, that grows, and that carries meaning beyond the material. Walk your path with intention, my brothers and sisters. Notice the subtle signs, give thanks for the small shifts, and trust that the steps you are taking now, however quiet, however humble, are leading you to the doorway of abundance. Step forward not with haste, but with awareness. Step forward not with desperation, but with faith. Your breakthrough is not something that belongs to the future alone. It begins now, in the choices you make, the discipline you nurture, the gratitude you cultivate, and the courage you summon to rise beyond what has been familiar. May Allah expand your provision with wisdom, bless your efforts with barakah, and shape your wealth into a light that benefits you and those around you, both in this life and in the life to come. The path has already been laid. Your heart is already being prepared. Recognize it, embrace it, and walk it fully, for abundance begins within before it is ever seen without. Ameen.